Hello friends, welcome to the online education. My subject is C502 Organic Chemistry and Spectroscopy, and this is lecture number 1 and my second unit, carbohydrates. Now we have learned about the carbohydrates. So what is the carbohydrates? Now our first theory is define the term carbohydrates. Define the term carbohydrates. So, what is the carbohydrates? So, this is the definition of carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are most important naturally occurring organic substances. What do you mean by naturally occurring organic substances? The carbohydrates are naturally occurring organic substances. In our nature, it is the produced by the nature, and this is the organic substances. So the carbohydrates are most important naturally occurring organic substances, and these classes of natural product, this is the natural product. So it is prepared by the nature, so it is called natural product. These classes of the natural product are important biologically. These are important for the human body and also animal. So it is called biologically. These classes of natural product are important biologically and also essential to sustain life. Our life, human body, to essential. It is the requirement of our body, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are required for every human and also plant kingdom. Now, they are widespread in both plants and animals. Okay? Plants and also animals and human. They are widespread in both plants and also animals. So, we have required in our body the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are natural occurring organic substances and also natural product. So carbohydrates are natural product and it is prepared by the nature. So this is the term carbohydrates, and this is the definition of carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are most important naturally occurring organic substances. These classes of the natural product are important biologically and essential to sustain life. And they are widespread in both plants and animals. And that is called carbohydrates. That is called carbohydrates. Now, we have learned about the formula of carbohydrate. This is the general formula of carbohydrates, CHH2OY. This is the formula of the carbohydrates. And example of a carbohydrates is, first is glucose and second is sucrose. This is the example of a carbohydrates. So we know about that glucose and sucrose. C6H12O6, this is the formula of glucose, and sucrose means sugar. Sucrose, C12H22O11, this is the formula of sucrose. So this is the term of carbohydrates. This is the definition of carbohydrates, and this is the general formula of carbohydrates, and this is the example of carbohydrates. Glucose and sucrose are example of carbohydrates. So we know about that glucose and sucrose are prepared by practically and also prepared by our human body in nature. Okay, so this is the example of carbohydrates. Now we have learned about the reaction of some carbohydrates. Just like that, carbon dioxide and water, it's reacted in the presence of light and to produce a glucose. For example, we have first see that this reaction n mole of CO2 reacted with the n mole of H2O and to produce a carbohydrate molecule and in the presence of oxygen. This is the carbohydrate molecule. This is the carbohydrate molecule. An example of this reaction is that 6 mole of CO2, this is the carbon dioxide, and this is the water. In the presence of UV light or normal sunlight, in the presence of UV light or sunlight, to produce a glucose, this is the glucose, and remove a 6 mole of oxygen. So this is the general reaction of carbohydrates. See that 6 mole of carbon dioxide is reacted with 6 mole of water in the presence of UV light or sunlight to produce a glucose and 6 mole of oxygen. This is the general reaction of a carbohydrate. So this is the definition of carbohydrates, general formula of carbohydrates, example of carbohydrate, glucose and sucrose, and this is the general reaction of a carbohydrates. Now we have learned about the classification of carbohydrates. How many types of the carbohydrates? So there are classified into main 3 types. There are classified into main 3 types. First is monosaccharide, second is oligosaccharide, and third is polysaccharide. So this is the main 3 types of carbohydrates. Just like that, there are classified into main 3 types: monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. There are the 3 types of carbohydrates. So we have learned about the definition of carbohydrate, general formula of carbohydrate, and example of carbohydrate, and general reaction of carbohydrate. And also we have learned about the classification of carbohydrates, and that is the main 3 types: monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides.